Kendrick Perkins has generated a lot of attention for what he said about his former teammate Kevin Durant. I'm going to read out the quote. When I was with the Oklahoma City Thunder, it wasn't KD, it wasn't Russ, it wasn't James leading. I was the one leading, along with Nick Collison, said Perkins, comparing himself to the veteran presence that Udonis Haslem provided for the Miami Heat throughout the later stages of his career. So I saw this clip just in full context of what Kendrick Perkins said. He was basically just saying, for example, that your best player is not always your leader on your team. And he was giving out examples of that. For example, he was saying for the Celtics during a 2008 title run that, believe it or not, Kevin Garnett was not the leader of the team. I never knew that. I was under the illusion that Kevin Garnett was the leader of the Celtics team. But I take his word for it because he said James Posey was the leader. He played for them. And then Udonis Haslem confirmed that too. He doubled down. Even though Udonis didn't play for that Celtics team, the NBA is like a fraternity. I'm sure they knew around the circles around the league that Posey was the actual leader of the Celtics, just unless someone speaks out about that. But I tend to believe that he was telling the truth in that regard. And, he was just using those examples, and also how Udonis Haslem, just when he was with Miami, was really the leader of the Miami Heat. And I do agree with that. UD was a guy who kept the locker room in check. He was a guy everybody respected in the locker room. I don't really think of LeBron James as much of a leader, to be honest. He's a great player, but I've never thought of him as a leader. I know some people disagree with me on that, but that's just how I view it. Now, just going back to Kevin Durant and him not seeing him a leader, I just want to read out the response to what Kevin Durant said to Kendrick Perkins on Twitter or X. I always confuse the names of that platform now. But anyways, this is what Kevin Durant said. I know this may be a reach, but this comment is by far the craziest shit I have seen this week. I actually disagree with you, Kevin. There was nothing crazy about that statement. If we're being honest, you were never a leader. You just never were a leader. I think that was clear in Golden State that you were not a leader, because if you were truly a leader, you would have not let a player like Draymond Green punk you the way he did. A player who's just a role player punked you on multiple occasions. He put you down. He insulted you to your face, and you did nothing. You took that abuse. A person who's a leader does not take that type of abuse. They stand up for themselves. They actually take command of the team. You didn't want to do that. You allowed him to be the leader of the team. You allowed him to run things. So I could definitely believe what Perkins is saying. I would say when I saw Kevin Durant in OKC, I never viewed him as the leader of the team. I can't recall the interview precisely when it happened, but I believe it was like many years ago when Derek Fisher played for the Thunder. I remember Kevin Durant saying that they look for Derek Fisher for leadership, that they rely on his experience and his veteran presence for leadership to guide them when he first joined that team. So again, that's another example of how Kevin Durant was never a leader to begin with. Just he was not a leader on that team. And, it showed in the toughest situations, like whenever that team faced adversity, because they were a talented team that could have won a title. They should have had gotten at least one when he was there. But whenever adversity happened, he melted, he crumbled, he couldn't get the team to play as a team in difficult situations. I felt that series against the Warriors many years ago, in which they lost in 7 games, his Thunder team, when they were up 3-1, was a sign of his poor leadership skills while that team fell apart. That team should have won that series. They started not to trust each other when the Warriors started to come back in that series, especially after they couldn't put the Warriors away in Game 5. And then Game 6, it was a complete meltdown by Kevin Durant in that game. He didn't come through when it mattered, and he couldn't calm his team's nerves to finish the job to put away the Warriors. That team was poor leadership. When you blow a 3-1 lead, it's always a sign of horrible leadership, that there's no unity on the team and trust falls apart. And that's exactly what happened in that series. I remember they started off playing as a team in that series. They had good ball movement, and then suddenly it stopped. Russ went back to being Russell Westbrook, chucking all these shots, and Durant couldn't control him. And that's a sign of bad leadership. You're the guy who's supposed to control the team. You're the one who's supposed to corral the team when some guy's getting out of line, and he just couldn't do that. So Durant has never been a leader. I know it hurts his feelings, and he's a very sensitive guy, and that's why he's responding back. But I definitely agree with Kendrick Perkins that he wasn't a leader, and that's fine. It's not really an insult to his greatness. I have him somewhere in my top 25 all time, but it is what it is. Not everybody can be a leader, and the best player is not always a leader. So that's all I have to say about this.